those are the kind of struggles I'm like, well, let me hear. I'm gonna try to help you. And so I come in and I make this video and I watch them cook the food and put the story behind the food, and that's what makes the food taste better. Like having your 9 to 5 is cool, but I feel like I've learned if you put all your time in your 9 to 5, like where's the fun out of it? Like one day, what if that goes away? Did you actually do everything you ever wanted to do?
All right. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Spill the Tea. Today's guest, we have a social media content creator, TikToker?
TikTok like star.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. An amazing storyteller, originally from the south end of Tacoma. And also, part of your bio, you're also very talented, creative. So tell us more. Teena Thach. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Teena Thach. I mean, you know how we always Americanize our last names for everyone else?
I feel like the H is supposed to be silent.
It's supposed to be Tet.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Is that a Cambodian?
So it's like Khmer Krum. So my we could go into it, but my dad lived on the border of Cambodia and Vietnam. So his name is like mixed with Vietnamese a little bit, but my mom is a Tran, but I took my dad's last name.
Got it.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for being
here. Of course. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Should I introduce myself?
Go
is
for
that
it.
What you wanted me to do?
Go for it.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Teena Thach. I am a social media content creator. I'm a foodie storyteller, or storytelling in different aspects. So, yeah.
Okay. I know a lot of people know you from your work from being a foodie and a content creator and Hey Washington Foodies. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I have a whole little niche going on called Hey Washington Foodies that focuses on Black and brown immigrant small businesses. And so I kind of started storytelling when my dad passed away, and I was going through a little moment where I wanted to find happiness in doing by helping other people. And so that kind of inspired me to go out during, this pandemic. It was 2020 when it all started, and food was my comfort when my dad had passed away. And so instead of being sad, I turned to food, and I saw this. There was a moment where TikTok was going viral. Everyone was going viral. I was already doing social media for so long, and I never understood the algorithm of it. So I always made dance videos and funny videos, but I was like, I don't get why people go viral. I don't understand. And so when I turned to food and started doing voiceovers and things that I wanted to do in a video, that's when it kind of blew up. But it wasn't until the small business would call me and be like, everyone just ordered exactly the same thing you put in the video. And I just want to thank you for helping our business during a really rough time. And then I think at that moment I was like, oh my gosh, is this like my thing? Like, is this my purpose in life? And when I started helping people and doing these videos one by one, I was starting to heal myself, being like, wow, like this is so good. My dad would be so proud of me. And then, I broke up with my therapist. I was going through therapy during that time. I was grieving over my dad, and I was just like, hey, I feel like I don't really need you anymore. And she was like, I'm so happy for you, And I just kind of found my own therapy through these videos, and that's kind of how it all spiraled.
That's amazing. I love that food just like cured all right there. But it's so funny because I think food is so important in a lot of cultures. Mm-hmm. So was food a big thing? I know this all started because of what tragically, happened and with your dad. Was food a big thing for him?
Yeah, so my father was a fisherman in Alaska when I was growing up, so he would come home every 3 months, and so a lot of times we weren't that close as much as I really wanted to. My parents are really older, like they could be my grandparents. So my mom right now is 73, my dad passed when he was 74, and my brother is 50 years old, so we're like 20 years apart.
Wow.
So pretty much my brother raised me. He is like my father. Like when I look at my brother, I remember growing up and being like, you're so mean. Like, why are you so mean? Like, you're so strict. But now when I grow up, I appreciate him so much because he had to be my father figure. And so my father was working at Trident Seafoods on the boat. He would leave every 3 months and come home. But I just remember growing up with him being like, so he's Cambodian. He lived on the border of Cambodia and Vietnam. So he spoke Vietnamese at home with me because my mom is Vietnamese, but he also speaks Cambodian. But I wasn't really more on my Cambodian side because he never really put that on me. And I really wish he would, but I speak fluent Vietnamese. But there are little things about him, like he has such a sweet tooth. So when I remember growing up, he literally would put sugar in his pho. Like,
Oh,
and I just
wow.
thought like, and it was just so weird, but I was just like, okay, it must be a thing. But he always loved like almond cookies and like just sweets. And I just remember growing up, him liking that. And I respected him because I was just like, if this is your thing, like I'm for it, not my thing. But it's really my mother that kind of inspired my love for food. She's such an amazing cook, like Vietnamese background. Like I, if anyone can try her food, it's so amazing. And that's kind of who helped me have such a diverse palate. She's so good at, like, and every time I would ask her to teach me a recipe, it's always like, it's this much. Like,
Yep.
I'm like, what's the
Mhm.
measurement? She's
Yep.
like, look at my finger. This much sugar, this much salt. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yes.
So it's really her that kind of inspired my food. But my dad is the one who inspired me to kind of do the work because he worked all his life. He was never
Yeah.
around. Like every single time he came home every 3 months or whatever, I was like walking, talking, graduated high school, graduated
Aw.
college. And, you know, for a long time, I was like feeling not anger inside, but I was like, oh, like, we're just not that close, and I accepted it. But once he passed away, I was like, wow, you lived all your life working and you did not get to enjoy life and go on vacation or anything like that. And I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
I want to, yeah, we all have a 9 to 5, but I also want to hustle and do my hobby because that's what makes me happy.
Yeah.
So it kind of inspired me to like not work all the time and just
Mhm.
kind of do things that, you know, are enjoyable and live life a little bit more.
Yeah. Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
The bit about like your mom cooking, and I feel like that's like every Asian mom
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there. Like,
Just put this much.
like
Yeah.
or like I'll ask my mom for like a recipe, and she's like, "You weren't watching." Or
Exactly.
you know, like, or my aunt be like, "Oh, you haven't learned how to make this yet?" It's like, no, because you guys have not explained how to make it before.
Or like you try to go in the kitchen and you help and they're just
Yeah.
like, you're just making the process really longer. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
just want to learn. It's just
Yeah.
like, get out the kitchen. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right.
And then they're like, you still didn't learn?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
okay, like, okay.
I love that. What's like your favorite dish your mom makes?
There's so many. She makes a really good chicken curry. That's what I love. And you have it with the banh mi bread on the side and you dip it. And it's so interesting because there's like Vietnamese and Cambodian food is so like similar in some way, you know?
Yep.
Like pho, kathiu. But she makes a really good chicken curry, banh xeo. She puts beer in her banh xeo to make it really crispy. So that's like her thing. She'll take like a can of a beer or Heineken and she'll
Yeah.
pour it into the batter. And when she fries it, it's super, super crispy.
Wow, that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good actually.
One for
Yeah.
you, one for me.
Yeah, exactly.
All the Southeast Asian like countries have very similar like dishes, like the curry, like the chicken curry. It's like everyone has like a different version of it. Like Laos version is kind of like I think Kaopoon.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's very
but it
similar.
has noodles in it.
Yeah, but it has noodles
Got
in
it.
it, and it's but the curry itself is very
Yep.
similar to like Cambodian curry. So
Yeah.
yeah, but one of my favorite dishes too. So with the rise, so going back to kind of like when you first started your TikTok account and started just going to these restaurants, like what was it like for you to one just meet all these people and once it started gaining traction, just meeting and finding out the stories of the businesses and the owners there, like how was that for you?
Yeah, so I when I went to Western, I had a journalism background, so that's kind of something I studied with like like asking the right questions and making sure I'm taking notes. And so I think growing up, I've always been a very curious person. And so because I didn't really have siblings, my brother was so much older, and most kids would feel very alone and be antisocial. But because I didn't have that at home, I was so social all the time, like being friends with my teachers, talking to random people on the bus. Like I was that kid. I was always been very curious. So I think I was like born, like God gave me this gift of like having this warm personality where a stranger can feel like they can tell me anything. And so when I went to these restaurants, it was people that I've been to the restaurant before and I've seen these people work hard, or I've been connected in some way where I trust someone's suggestion. And coming in and actually saying like, hey, I want to help you. I want to tell your story. I want to know how you created this business, what recipes you got from your family. They were all shocked because at the end of the day, they don't really understand social media. They're looking at me like, what do you mean you're going to make a video? You know, I was like, I don't want any money from you. I do not ask for any money from these small businesses. I do that as the kindness of my heart. I feel like it's kind of like my little nonprofit, you know? And so I come in and I sit down with them and I'm like, I just want you to tell me your story. And they sit and we have a conversation for 30 minutes, an hour, and I'm sitting there just taking notes and it flows naturally. I don't have any questions written down. It's just what I'm asking while we're sitting down. And they just tell me everything. They tell me they had to take out their 401k because this is what they wanted to do, or they had to fire all their employees because they didn't have enough money to pay them, and they have their families working. But those are the kind of struggles I'm like, well, let me hear. I'm going to try to help you. And so I come in and I make this video and I watch them cook the food and put the story behind the food. And that's what makes the food taste better. And the worst part of it, the negative part of it, is it's so hard to hear someone's long story and then cut it for a minute on TikTok and Reels. That's like the worst part, you know? That's why I'm heading to YouTube soon. So after that, it was kind of like when we posted on social media, I mean, they don't know what's going on. And I didn't expect it either. But because I was trying to be so genuine, authentic, I think that's like the number one thing. People enjoyed it. They love hearing about, you know, how the food is being made, because that's what makes it taste better, like I said. So, you know, they were just shocked because after the video went viral, people would come in and I kid you not, there was like lines. There was places that don't even have reservations. Like I did a Laos hot pot place in the Crossroads Mall. It's a little food court. And they had to do reservations in a food court because the line was so long. And that was like my favorite story because he was the one who took out his 401k and it was just him and his wife and their daughter working. And there was like no one coming in because of COVID. But then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people started coming in where people had to wait to go be seated. And he was just like, I can hire people now. Like, you know, I have enough money to hire one other person to help me out. And yeah, it was cool.
That's awesome. So what was like, okay, so you've built up quite the story thus far. What was the first story like? The first restaurant you went to, the first family homegrown place you went to, what was that like interaction like? How did that start?
Yeah, the first video wasn't even like an interview. The first video that really went viral was I went to Mangosteen and I was following the account for a while and Ty was working. And so I was just really sad and I DM'd him. I was like, hey, I've never been to your restaurant. Like, are you open? And he was at the Red Boat at the time. And he was like, yeah, come by. And if you make a TikTok, like, I'll give you free boba. I was like, absolutely. Like, I will do anything for free food. So then I came down and I was recording like the fish sauce wings and the boba and all this stuff. And I was like, what would I want in this video? So I had a video clip of him. I said the prices or whatever. And there wasn't any storytelling.
Yeah.
So once that became viral, I was like, I just feel like there needs to be a little bit more like what would make me different from everyone else, you know?
Yeah.
And so then I think the second one was Coffeeholic. And so I came there and I met Chen and his wife, and they're so young and they just opened this Vietnamese coffee shop. And hearing their story, I was just like, I need to tell this. I need to tell, like, you know, you all immigrated here from Vietnam and trying to open up a modern Vietnamese coffee shop. That is so cool. And then that interaction, he was just like, okay, cool. Like, let's do it. And at the time there was already people starting to make different TikToks and being like, there's this food and this food. And it wasn't anything like storytelling. And so when I kind of posted that, everyone was like, thank you so much. Like, I met the owners and they're so nice and it's cool hearing their story. And that's when I was like, okay, cool. And like my inspirations, I've always watched like Anthony Bourdain growing up and seeing him travel the world and actually take time to be a human and not like someone that's looking for profit to sit down and be normal. I look up to that. You know, I want to be able to see people for who they are and how hard it is. You know, all these different people I've met, opening up a small business is no joke. Like people just come in and they buy food and they just think like that's it. But there's so much background. There's inflation. There's hiring people. There's pay. You know, when things go bad in the back, like you have to throw it out and buy new. And there's so much of it, and people don't understand that part. And that's why I want to tell those stories.
Definitely working in the food service industry has like really changed our perception or perspective on what goes on behind the kitchen, because it's like, wow, it's insane. And the fact that I totally get that to fit this in a 1 minute TikTok, I can't even fathom that. So when can we start seeing YouTube? YouTube?
It's so funny because everyone keeps like anticipating, because I've recorded the video.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And it was like 20 minutes long, and I was like, oh, like everyone's like, you should make it 15 minutes. And I kind of let everyone kind of give their opinion. So I worked really hard to kind of cut it to 15 minutes. I think I'm just like, I just want it to be perfect, because I don't think a lot of people know this, but I was on YouTube years ago. Like I used to sing on YouTube. I used to, before the food stuff, like I was that MySpace girl who did YouTube covers around like the AJ Raphael time, like, you know, all this stuff. And like I'm good friends with Timothy De La Ghetto. We kind of started and he kept going. And I used to sing a lot in college and perform and stuff like that. And so I have like 9,000 subscribers on YouTube. And so when I had that, I went to college and I was like, this isn't going anywhere. And I could hear my Asian mom in my head, like, you need to get a real job. Like, what are you doing? You know? So after college, I just kind of stopped singing, which really kind of like sucks because that was my passion first. Like, music will always be my passion. And the videos are still there. And it's funny, I see comments like, still listening to this cover in 2023. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so I kind of want to make the first video talk about like, hey, YouTube subscribers, like I know it's been a long time, I'm not dead, but this is what I've been up to. And so kind of mixing my food world with my music world together. But yeah, it's coming soon. I posted my first YouTube short. It's crazy that everyone's wanting to become like this short video kind of like content for TikTok, putting on Reels and putting on YouTube. But yeah, I posted my first YouTube short and the YouTube longer video will be out soon.
It goes back and forth. Sometimes like shorts are like the hot thing, and then next thing you know, the longer the video, the better, and it just goes back and forth. But I'm gonna be excited to see that a little bit longer form content that you have.
Will there be like a combo of like singing Teena and Foodie Teena like in one video?
I've been saying it so long. I mean, like, yeah, I want to, but I don't know. The internet is so mean. Like, I think what I've learned throughout these years of being on the internet is people are, what do you call, like keyboard warriors? Like they'll say whatever.
Yeah. Everyone's a critic.
Yeah. And I'm super sensitive. I'm such a crybaby. Like, I'll sit there and I'm like, Simon, they said my voice is so annoying. And he's like, babe, they're like 7 years old. I was like,
That's true.
That's true. So mean. But no, I'm trying to grow a thicker skin with that stuff. But yeah, maybe. I definitely want to do like kind of more sit down and you'll see the interviews instead of the interviews with these owners, instead of me just saying like this 1 minute thing. I want to sit down and be like, hey, this is the person, here's their face. And they kind of use their voice to kind of, do the interview.
Yeah, and I love that you already kind of set the tone for that already. Like, you've teased us with these minute videos, like, for so long already that, like, it just makes sense. Like, I think it's a smart move to go transition over to, like, longer videos.
Yeah, I just think it's tough because these short videos are vertical and then the YouTube videos this way, and I'm just like, I need to choose which one. But I do think I watch a lot of YouTubers, and I do love just sitting down and eating dinner or, like, sitting down and watching this stuff, and I do feel like, I don't know, you get more out of it. So maybe like the vlog style, maybe when I go and support Simon and his merchandise and we kind of make, so my fiance Simon has an art studio, so we make our own merchandise. Like we'll print things and fold stuff. So there's just so much of like vlog style I think that people really would enjoy.
Yeah, like behind the scenes. Like people love that.
I mean, there's a story right there.
Right.
Oh gosh. What's really fascinating about this is you're making an impact in the community. And you still have a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. It's like a lot of people think that, I have a job, so there's no space, there's no time to do other things. But you have a 9-to-5, and it's a very busy 9-to-5.
Yes.
On top of that, you're making such a huge impact with everyone in the community and people of color and stuff. That you're just like families, immigrant families. You're helping out so many of them. That is such a cool thing.
Yeah, I barely sleep, but. My mental health is trash, but no, I have a 9-to-5 that I come in, and it's a lot of work. It's for a big brand, and they support me fully in the things that I do, and I feel very lucky. But it is exhausting because after my 9-to-5, I go home. I try to still do my routine of working out, eating dinner, but I stay up a lot of times till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning just because I'm editing and trying to do these voiceovers, which take forever. I write a whole script. Sometimes it takes multiple days. I edit, I write a script of all my interview notes, and then I do the voiceovers. And I'm a perfectionist. So every time you hear like, hey, Washington Foodies, that's like new. That's a new take every time. That's not like me copying the voiceover and putting over. No, it's new every time. But like, I honestly feel when you're passionate about something, it doesn't matter. Like you will always put your hard work, you'll always put in time because that's your dream and that's your goal. And I think a lot of people who have dreams and goals, having a hobby is what makes life so fun. Like having your 9-to-5 is cool, but I feel like I've learned if you put all your time in your 9-to-5, like where's the fun out of it? Like one day, what if that goes away? Did you actually do everything you ever wanted to do? I never want to look back and say like, I wish I did this or have any regret. I just want to do as much as I can until I can't. And if I make mistakes, like thank God I learned the lessons now or I would have never known. And I'm all about like shooting for the stars because you just never know.
I love that. Shoot for the stars because even if you miss, you'll hit the moon.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you plan? Like what's a big, or you just kind of winging it as you go along. I wing things as I go along. But like, is there like an kind of like a bigger plan for what you're doing with Washington Foodies?
Honestly, I don't want to be Washington Foodies for the rest of my life. I think that it's a small box to be stuck in, but I do want to continue the work, but I feel like I'm way more than that, you know? And I think that this is like, this is a part of me, but that's not all of me. So I do want to be able to explore other locations, cities, countries, and be able to help other people, not just stick in Washington. I also feel like with my journalism background, there's other stories to tell. There's like people who do lashes, people who do hair, people who are trainers that have small business. I want to tell their story. And I also want to do things where I am recording myself learning how to cook with my mom, because one day she might not be here anymore, and I want to be able to kind of document that time I had with her. And yeah, I don't know, the music stuff, and there's just so much other things I want to do, but I think at the end of the day, with social media, it's cool to have a niche and that's what you're known for. But I think I'd rather be a fully full person, because, yeah, I don't want to be that for the rest of my life, because that makes me stuck in a box.
That's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah, like absolutely. And especially with being so talented and creative, like you just have so much there's so much more for you to share and give and put out there, that I think your audience and people watching will definitely love to see that.
Yeah, well. I truly believe that when you support your community, they really support you back. And I've seen that come in like 10 folds of like, you know, I never ask for anything. I think when it comes to kindness, you do it out of your heart, and then you'll see whatever happens, right? Like when I go to these small businesses, I come in to help. I don't want anything from you. Like, I just want to help you, and then we'll see where it takes us. And every time that I do something, or I drop like some merchandise, or I have an event, people show up because, you know, I'm being authentic. And I think a lot of the times with social media, people look at these likes and these followers, and I'm just saying clout doesn't last forever. Like one day, what if the internet shuts off and there's no social media? What do you have? You know what I mean? True. So what I have is all these positive changes that I've helped the community. Like, that shit doesn't go away. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah.
And it's much more authentic, I think, what you're doing too, because like we do get like DMs from a lot of people, and they'll say, we want to help you out. Like, great, let's partner, let's figure something out. Like, we'd love to, like, because they're growing too. And then they'll send us, here's our package. Yeah. And it's like this much. So I was like,
how much we cost.
Yeah, never mind. But like, you go out, it's like, no, I just want to help you. I just want to tell everyone your story. And you do it so authentically that it's like, there's nothing there that like people get people caught off guard, where it's like, oh, she's just trying to get something out of us, which is, I think, huge. Like, because a lot of people are just trying to be out there, trying to get free food, trying to make money off of these small companies and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that having a 9-to-5 has helped me, because then I have another income coming in, so I'm not struggling to be like, I need this money. And so I think that I'm able to say no to certain things, and it's kind of nice because I do come in getting to choose what I want to do. Like, I get a whole bunch of DMs and like stories and things like that, and I can't help everyone, but I have to have a personal connection to this restaurant, or have someone that I trust to give me this recommendation before I accept. And there's a lot of aspects when it comes for me to choose the story. Is the owners, their story, the food has to be good. You know, is it something that they already had a lot of media around? Like, they don't need my help as much. That's the kind of story I like to go for. But it's tough, because I think a lot of people are like probably thinking like, oh, you get paid to do this small business stuff. I don't. And that's why, like, if I did, maybe I would able to go like way farther in Washington. But it's like, I go to the areas that I can. But even though I don't like charge these small businesses, this work has gotten me a lot of brand deals. So that's the where the money comes in, with like working with big brands and partnerships and things that have money. Like, that's where I get the money from, which is really nice.
And it helps support you in continuing what you're doing. So that's huge. So yeah.
And then with like, you know, being on TikTok or making any content, or even just with marketing, a lot of people see the result, right? The end result. They see the video and they see how nice it is. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily see the work that goes behind it, like you mentioned earlier. I mean, we've had people who are like, oh, you have a marketing team? Why? What do they do? Just take nice photos and just post it? Like, I can do that, right? So, so for you, I know you mentioned a little bit about all the work that goes into just one video. So how long, like how many hours would you say goes into just like one video for one location, one restaurant?
Yeah, so I think it's multiple days. So one day I plan to shoot, I come in to the restaurant. It takes about 2 or 3 hours for the interview. I sit down with them, I record them cooking, I try the food. The next day, I work on editing the video and then writing the script of all the notes that I take. The next day, then I do voiceovers. And so I used to do this all in one day.
Ooh.
And that was like killing me. So I was like trying to spread it out. But that was like, so when it comes to the hustle and consistency, I say, when it comes to social media, you have to be consistent. So the first year I was grinding. I was like, I'm going to post a video once a week. Yeah. So I did what it took to do that. And once I kind of grew that following and the people, I was like, all right, cool. Now I can do it when I want. But I can say when you're consistent to your brand, that's really what's going to make you thrive. And so now I spread myself for 3 days just because it's a lot of work. Yeah. And if I'm not feeling good and I don't like my content, it's not going to be good. And you're going to see that. And so I need to put myself first. And if people love your content, they're going to wait for it. They're going to enjoy it no matter when or what time you're going to post it.
Yeah, people just don't realize how much work it really takes behind the scenes, which is, I think, why a lot of people resonate with the storytelling behind the restaurant or wherever you visit, right? Because it gets people get a little glimpse of what's going on, and I think people always want to learn more. Yeah. And some people just don't understand what it takes, and so I think it's awesome that you bring that storytelling element to it, and you're willing to share that.
Yeah, the owners that I've met, like, they work so hard. Like, I'm sure you both know, it's like, people just see Pochi and the boba, but they don't know who owned it or how much it took or the rebrand or anything, you know? And I think a lot of the times people come in and they open a restaurant and they have to take loans out and they have to find people who want to work for them. And during the pandemic, it was so hard because not a lot of customers want to eat out and stuff. So I can only imagine the struggle of trying to transition your work into Grubhub or DoorDash or things like that. But like I said, I just love eating a dish and being like, wow, this came from centuries of recipes from a different country, or wow, it took you a day and a half to make this pho or whatever, you know, like it just tastes so much better.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to kind of your family history a little bit, because I know being like a first generation, that's kind of like a big thing. So could you tell us a little bit about just growing up, how you grew up, what your family culture and dynamics were like?
Yeah, so my mom is Vietnamese and she had a son, which is my brother. He's Vietnamese and Hawaiian, and during the Vietnam War, his dad was an American soldier, and so when his dad was around, they had my brother, and then he had to go back to war and kind of never came back. And so the things that my mom and my brother have seen and dealt with, I just always have to take in mind about, how much work it was to get here. And so my mom used to tell me she was holding my brother, jumping over dead bodies and trying to hide in caves. And during the Vietnam War, it was so crazy. And the fact that she was able to come to America is wow, the privileges that I have, I'm so grateful. And so they had to, because my brother's father was an American soldier, they were able to go to the Philippines to learn English before they immigrated to the US. And so my brother and my mom have gone through it. They're best friends. My brother took care of her. They both worked on the fishing boat together. And so that's when my mom met my father on the Trident Seafoods boat. And so I don't know what happened on the boat, but that's when they had me. She had me when she was 40. I said, Mom, was I an accident? You can keep it real. And so, so when my mom was pregnant with me, she went back to Washington, and my brother and my dad was working at Trident Seafoods for a while, but then my brother's like, I'm going to go back and just be with my mom and kind of take care of us. And so I kind of grew up with just my mom she just cut everything off and was like, I don't need to work. I want to take care of you. And, as we were younger, I used to be so embarrassed of her, having to walk me to school and be that Asian mom that was always bringing the smelly food to lunch, and I was getting made fun of. But when I grow up, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful. The lunch food was trash that. Yeah. Why? But I was so upset because I traded my banh mi for a PB&J. Why did I do that? But she always took care of me, and she was always that sensitive, emotional mom. And so I think that's where my emotions and being sensitive comes from. Yeah. And though people probably think it might be a weakness, but I think me being able to feel the way I feel and feel people's emotions by the stories they tell me, I'm really grateful to have that part of my mom's personality for me. And growing up, my brother was super tough on me because, having an Asian household, it was so strict. So I would be the girl that would sneak out in the window and get caught and have my friends pick me up. Then my mom would whip me with the broom in front of all my friends.
But in front of your friends.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
gosh.
oh my gosh, I hope I don't have a daughter. My mom always tells me, how moms be like, you're going to have karma. You're going to have a daughter. She's going to be bad like you. I was like, oh no. Man. But I grew up in Tacoma in the South, and it was very, very diverse. And I grew up with a lot of Black and brown, Mexican, Asian, Black people. Like I was always open to different cultures, and it was like a middle class, low income community, and a lot of people don't leave Tacoma. But I always had bigger dreams, and unfortunately, my parents never went to college. Neither did my brother. My parents probably went to elementary school, and that was it. And my brother went to get his GED to be a computer tech, but they never encouraged me to go to college or anything like that. But because I was so social, I became friends with my teachers, and they're the ones that were like, hey, like, you want to go to college, we'll pay for your applications.
Wow.
They used to drive me to college campuses because I never stepped foot on anything higher education, and I just was like, my eye was like open. I was like, wow, like I can do this. And so I remember one of my teachers, we went on a field trip to Western, and she was like, I went to this school, like, I think you would really like it. And so she paid for my application, and I got in. And so I was a part of all these like after school programs for college, and that's kind of what inspired me to do more. I was like, I feel like I could be breaking generational curses by having higher education. And growing up was tough. No one ever taught me anything. I kind of figured out on my own, but I used to be so upset not being able to go home and have my mom help me my homework. I was like, how come everyone's parents get to like teach them science and math, and I don't have anyone, and no one speaks English? Like, but then I realized because of that struggle, I was able to figure things out on my own. Like, I'm very grateful for the way I grew up, because I think a lot of times people who don't struggle, they don't understand how hard it takes to work for the things that you want.
That's true.
And I'm so grateful that I had to hustle. I had to figure it out. And that's why where I'm at today, like, I didn't get anything handed to me. Like, everything that I ever went for, I went because I wanted to do it. And I figured the shit out on my own. So nothing was ever handed to me.
Yeah. And what's amazing about that too is, like, every time you talk about your hardships or something that people would normally hold people back, I love the way you talk about it, because every single time that happens, you look at the positive in it. You look at the strength. You look at how you can use it to your advantage versus how is this holding me back, which is amazing. And I think that speaks to the strength you have just as a human being, as a person. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think the moment I was born, I was like, I'm going to be a fucking star. Like, I remember being a kid and being singing and being like, I was such a dreamer, Like, I had all these dreams of wanting to do more and getting out of here. Like, I used to watch MTV and was like, I want to be on the beach on, like, spring break. And I was like 5. I was like, I should be watching this. But I just wanted to do more. No. And so I knew that the only way to do it was I wanted to learn more. I think knowledge is power at the end of the day. And education, though we're going to be in debt forever, it's still great because I was learning so much. So I think that regardless, I know deep down in my heart, I always wanted to do more. So regardless of following my dreams or going to college, I was going to do whatever it takes to get there.
Wow. I love just how you just own who you are, and like, what you want, and you just go for it. And a lot of people will just take all those hardships, take all those whatever problems they have, and just let them hold them back from doing those things. And I love how unafraid you are to do that. So that's
I think there's a lot of people too that have been given or just handed things. So there's a lot of entitlement that I know I see nowadays with some of the kind of the younger generation. There's a bit more entitlement, instant gratification, because of course, I mean, the whole social media, like the likes and the follows and stuff, it's instant, right? So as soon as that doesn't happen, people now get upset. And then there are some that have had challenges along the way, kind of like you, but use it as kind of a crutch. It's like, I didn't have a good life, or my parents didn't speak English, so this is. But you took that and just flipped it, and you used that as an advantage for yourself.
There was no blame.
No, there was no blame. You took full accountability for it, full responsibility for it, where the power is literally in your hands to change your life, which is like, just hearing your story is really cool, because you really took all these quote unquote disadvantages that people may see as disadvantages, but you took that as a strength, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I can say it takes a lot of time to kind of get to know yourself. And as much as I show myself that I'm confident, I think it's you fake it till you make it. Like, I'm never going to show everyone that I'm really scared. Like, if I need to do something, like, though I feel the way I feel, like, I think life is about faking it. Like, you want to go do something, put a smile on your face and keep going. You know what I mean? Like, I think I had to sit a lot alone and kind of feel the way I feel. And I think when you have a bad day, that's okay. If you're not okay, that's okay also.
Yep.
And I had to sit down and be like, these are my struggles, but how can I make a change? There's a lot of the times people go through hardships and they just sit down and not take any action. For me, I think that when I feel this sense of like weakness or I feel like I'm failing, I don't want to feel like that anymore. So what am I going to do to change it? But it took a lot of time. A lot of people don't know themselves yet, and that's okay. I think it takes a lot of years to kind of be like, if you could describe yourself in 3 words, could you do it? I did it. Like, there's a lot of times people can't say like the 3 things that they would say about themselves. And when you kind of figure out those three words that describes yourself, I kind of feel like that's when you know, like, okay, this is who I am right now.
That's great. Well, I kind of want to ask, if you could go back in time and give yourself a piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
I would say, I know this sucks right now and this is really hard, but trust me, you're going to be so happy soon. It's going to be so worth it. Keep going. Like, I know you're crying right now and it really sucks, but I swear to you, it's going to get better. That's probably what it is. Because there's so many times I was like, I hate my life. Why is this happening to me? But like, I wouldn't regret it for a thing, because when I cried over some stupid boy or a situation, I'm so glad I went through it, because now I'm like, oh my God, it made me a better person, or there was some lesson into everything that has happened in my life in some way.
Nice, good. And of course, even though you may have cried over a boy, now you have an amazing fiance.
I know, he's so lucky.
Yeah. Right? Oh my God.
Yes.
I slid in his DMs, so it kind of worked out.
Hey.
There you go. Okay, so how's the wedding planning coming along?
Yo, why is wedding so expensive?
Right.
It is.
Dude,
It is.
I had
It's
no
so expensive.
I had no clue catering was the most expensive part.
Oh, so expensive. And I think from the pandemic, it's only gotten more expensive too.
Mm-hmm.
Eloping is starting to look real nice.
That's what I told Ralph.
I was like,
We should have. Yeah, we should have.
yeah, I mean, the courthouse, I was like, should we? No, but I dream of a really good wedding. I went to the wedding expo and I was very overwhelmed. Luckily, we have a friend that's a wedding planner to kind of help out. But yeah, I was just like, how long do I can live this fiance life? Like, but our parents, like I said, my parents are really old, or my mom is really old, and Simon's parents are a little older too. So they're just kind of pressuring us, like, you guys gonna be together forever anyway, so come on, just get married.
Get it over with.
Let's get it over with. Like, they just want us to get it done, but hopefully we can figure things out with costs and stuff. And I don't know. It's a lot. I'm just like, I don't know, but I was saying, like, I feel like I can, like, get a wedding dress, like, promote a wedding dress and get it, like, sponsored or something, maybe. We'll see.
You know?
We're just going to speak it out into the world.
Yeah,
It'll happen.
I'm all about manifestation.
Yeah,
I've been doing this thing where I'm just, like, would speak out loud, like, I'm so lucky and all these great things are happening to me. And, like, in the beginning of the year, I wrote about all this, like, manifestations of 2023, but I wrote it in a tense where it already happened. Like, I will do this and I will reach this. I will do 3 pull-ups. Like, there's just so many things I put. But I'm able to kind of, like, keep myself accountable. So it's really been nice.
You don't know. One person that might be listening to this right now might be like, oh, we've got a deal for you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you never know. You never know. So, like, okay, so with that, what's like a word of wisdom that you may give to somebody who's looking into getting into kind of like what you're doing now, who might have a 9-to-5 as well, right? Who's interested in kind of like doing their own thing, either on TikTok or YouTube or whatever platform. Because it's not easy at first. When you first start, it's never easy. So what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say step back and prioritize, because at the end of the day, what's going to pay you more, right? So, or what's going to be more efficient to your life. So right now, my 9-to-5 pays my bills, and you need money to pay bills. So that's my priority. But after that, you have your hobbies, you have things to take care of. So I think you should do a prioritizing exercise and being like, what do I need to do? And what can I do during my free time, and kind of, or what's more important to me? So then you can kind of organize your time better and your calendar. And that would help you be able to do multiple things at once. Because if you're overwhelmed and you put too much time into one thing and don't have time for another, it's just all going to be bad. And I think that it's good to kind of do that exercise to kind of know like what you actually want, so then you can get the results that you want.
Nice. I love that. Prioritize.
Well, Teena, thank you for sharing your story and sharing other people's story in the community. Like,
we get to share your story, which is really cool. You normally share everybody's story. You get to share your story today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super grateful, and I'm excited to see where Pochi goes with all of this.
Hey, pretty soon. Here we go. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Cool. You're a natural.
I know, you are.